I've seen suggestions that AEW should book the likes of Will Ospreay, who's not an AEW guy, but he has wrestled there in the past. And I've also seen the argument that they should focus on their own roster and not really bring anyone in. And I get that perspective, but I kind of disagree. AEW has, when it makes sense, often brought in outside stars. It's a company that likes to introduce fans to the wider world of wrestling beyond its own reach. Admittedly, not very well sometimes. When Nick Gage was the talk of the town following his Dark Side of the Ring episode, AEW brought him in for a match. When Sting was going to Noah to wrestle the Great Muta, they brought Muta to Grand Slam. So here's my suggestion. It's just an idea. Since they have such a good relationship with New Japan, how about like a New Japan promoted match? You could have Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. Doesn't have to be too high up the card, but it'd be two top British wrestlers who came up on our indie scene and are undeniably stars. I mean, both of whom used to wrestle in Camden in the Electric Ballroom, which I believe is a 700-seater. As a fan of both of those two, it'd just be really cool to see them in front of thousands and thousands of people, and not just on a screen from the Tokyo Dome. I'd also like to see some other British wrestling stars, in maybe non-wrestling roles or even just additions to a battle royal or something. Having just signed, it's fair to assume Nigel McGuinness will be part of the show, but I'm also thinking people like Nick Aldis and Doug Williams. Some sort of British Invasion reunion from TNA, that'd be cool. Hell, why not even book Harry Smith or David Hart Smith or whatever he's billed as these days? It is Wembley after all. It's not quite the same stadium his dad and Brett main evented in. The stadium they wrestled in was torn down in the late 90s and rebuilt, but it's still Wembley Stadium. Having said all of that, I'm well aware that this will be an AEW show at heart, but I'm just suggesting some ways that they could include the fact that this massive event is in London. I mean, they do this in North America as well. The most recent example I can think of is when they were last in Canada and Jade Cargill wanted a Canadian challenger for her TBS title, and that was their way of debuting Taya Valkyrie. So they do this more often than you might think, and they do it an awful lot as well, so it's easy to forget sometimes. But maybe that gives you an idea of what I was sort of thinking about for this card. Like, a week later, you've got All Out. And to me, that should be a card where you've built a ton of storylines to culminate on pay-per-view, in like a traditional sense. But All In, to me, should be more like Forbidden Door, where most of the card was built on dream matches between New Japan and AEW stars. I mean, yeah, there were some stories going in, but it was mostly a card that was built on one-time, even dream matches. And that was one of the most popular shows of last year, and that's how I would focus the Wembley card.